Syria is the seat of civilization and the current site of major conflict between various Islamic factions. This picture is the main entrance to the Old City in Damascus. The country of Syria is surrounded by Iraq, Jordan, Turkey, and Lebanon, and is home to a mix of religious groups, including a relatively small number of Christians, Kurds in the north, Sunni, Druze, and Alawite. Prior to the war in Syria, these groups existed side by side, although there have always been deep tensions. However, the destructive sectarianism the world has witnessed in Syria recently is something new. The most populated cities, and where the most intense fighting is taking place, is in the east. Aleppo, Homs, and Damascus. As Syria continues to implode, the scale of its humanitarian tragedy, the mass exodus, and social, cultural, and spiritual carnage becomes even more catastrophic, with the conflict ongoing for almost 5 years now. In spite of Islam's prevailing influence, traces of earlier cultures, all of our cultures, can be seen in these ancient cities. Damascus is one of those sites with some of the earliest ruins evidence that dates back to the Roman period. Founded in the 3rd millennium BC, Damascus is one of the oldest cities in the Middle East, actually considered to be the oldest city, as well as the oldest capital of the world. The Grand Mosque of Damascus is one of the largest mosques in the world and one of the oldest sites of practiced Islam. It is the cradle of historical civilization, a showcase of science and art over time, one that tells a great part of the history of humanity. And once again, it is our history we're talking about. Numerous Bronze Age civilizations left their mark, including the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Hittites, followed by the Greeks, the Persians, the Romans, the Arabs, with the Ottoman Empire also leaving their mark. Many of these civilizations chose Syrian cities as their capitals. This tremendous account of civilization and over 5,000 years of history is being buried under the rubble of war. These before and after pictures show the shocking scale of devastation in this great city, as well as in all corners of the country, and the damage being done to Syria's soul and identity. It is not just Damascus, but also Aleppo and Homs that have suffered major destruction. And Aleppo, one of the oldest covered marketplaces in the world, is now in ruins. Its maze of stone streets has been one of the most intense battlefields in the country, bombed from above by Air Force jets and bombed from ground level by close quarter battles. Shelling, shooting, heavy machinery installed in these sites, and major looting are the leading causes of damage and destruction, as well as vandalism. Archaeological sites in Syria are often on the front lines of conflict and experience heavy damage, as can certainly be seen in these images. Economic hardship and decreased security often mean sites even away from the fighting are at risk, often being looted, as was seen in the United States siege of Baghdad. Headlines around the world often tell the story of outside countries and influences that have become involved in this complicated matrix. This destruction of history denies not only Syria, but the world the rich heritage of future inspiration. With little to no access to the country, satellite images are being used to track the devastation. The Global Heritage Fund's Director of Global Projects has said that all of the country's World Heritage sites have sustained damage, including the UNESCO site cities, and a great many of the other monuments in the country have been damaged, destroyed, or have been subject to severe looting. All of that now stands in ruins, ravaged by a war that is not only killing generations of Syrians, but also destroying all that surrounds them, including sites that have stood since the dawn of civilization. The destruction to ancient churches, stone crusader fortresses, and ruins that have stood firm during centuries of insurrection, but are now being eradicated by this unforgiving war.